20 to 25.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome those in the chamber as well as those that are joining us online. This is Tuesday, October 10th at 6 p.m. This is the Board of Commissioners. I'm Commissioner Gage Ford. I'll be conducting this evening. With me is Commissioner Sharon Bolos to my left, Commissioner Jim Harvey to my right. The purpose of this meeting is a public meeting to hear arguments for and against the proposed jail bond. And we're going to start those discussions in just a couple minutes. Shelley, are we online with Zoom? I wanted to make sure that we're up and going that way.
Recording in progress.
All right, that's the go-ahead. So with that, we now have a green light. I would request a motion to adjourn our public meeting and reconvene as a public hearing.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're now in a public hearing. Purpose of that hearing is regarding the issuance of not more than $98 million of general obligation bonds, and B, the potential economic impact that the improvements, facilities, or properties to be financed in whole or in part with proceeds of said bonds will have on the private sector. We have as our presenter this afternoon, or this evening, our own Sheriff Arbon will give the initial for conversation. Let me just make sure everybody's aware of the protocol. We tend to follow state law in these hearings, and what state law requires is that there is a for affirmative proposal, and then there will be a negative proposal, but from what I understand, there was none that were submitted, so we'll go right into public comments at that point in time. And I'll discuss public comments that go. So Sheriff Arbon will give the for. With that, since we did not receive any negative proposals, that will be left out of the discussion tonight. Sheriff Arbon, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman, Commission. Thank you so much for your time. I want to first express my gratitude for all the work that's gone into this bond proposal. Chief Reese and I have spent close to, if not a little more than 3.5 years to make sure that we get this right. We've spent hours and hours, hundreds of hours with professionals in the industry of medical, mental health, law enforcement. We have worked with our local chiefs, local law enforcement, adult probation, parole, the prison system, our local attorneys, the county attorneys, and our local staff, trying to find out what is the right thing to do for those that are incarcerated, the medical, mental health professionals. We've worked with our hospitals to see, get input from them. We've been through several different plans, concept plans, to see exactly what we should be doing. We've settled on some and figured later that this is not the right plan. We thought this is the right cost, and then found out later this is not the right cost. It's too much. And we've gone through data. We've went through feasibility study and found out that we had the data wrong, and it was frustrating. And we went back. We went through the court system and extracted more data. We looked at our data and said, you know, we can do better than this. And finally, we felt that we had the right thing and the right plans. And today, tonight, we are presenting this in the information. Chief Reese and I will be presenting this information to you. Thank you again. I also want to express my gratitude and appreciation for all the elected officials in the county, from the county level, state level, and also the city local levels. They've been a great support, and also the directors and other leaders within the county. They've been a great help. It's been difficult, challenging, and tough. It's been emotional in some levels, but this is good information, and I look forward to sharing it. And with that, I will move forward. There's a quote on the screen I'd like to read. It says, "We have a goal to help teach these individuals to be self-sufficient and contribute to society in a positive way. With our current facilities, we are unable to do that to the extent that we hope to. So why the expansion? As you know, as sheriff, I have one major priority is public safety. Public safety is the first biggest priority. The second one is proper custodial care. Decrease operational costs, as I'll explain that here, and also we want to reduce recidivism, which most people, we want to reduce the reoffenders. So when you look at the county, and we want to start with the baseline to understand the purpose of the expansion. 12th Street facility was built in the year 2000. It is an 888 bed facility, and when it was built, it had 6 medical cells at the time. When this plan was conceptualized, that was the needs at the time. And at the time, there was just under 200,000 residents in Weber County. Since then, a lot has changed, and what has changed was not foreseen. At the time, there was no opioid epidemic, and there was not a mental health crisis, which came later. JRI was not seen, and these things have a large impact on our residents. Population now is close to 270,000. That is a 35% increase in our population. Right now, we have 12,000 average bookings per year, and just knowledge, before COVID, we were close to 16,000 bookings per year. Also, I'll look back to our the other facility, the old jail that's downtown. As you look in this picture on the upper right is the old Lanier section. This was built in 1983. It had 120 beds. Right now, and if we were still operating, it's very staff intensive. If we were to be using that today for about 30 to 40 inmates per level, it would take up to 5 of our staff to supervise those inmates. Right, it's very high cost to maintain right now to operate this entire facility. Just on the maintenance side of it, it's about $150,000 a year to keep maintenance costs up. It's just a preview. We still, to operate the heating and air conditioning, we still use manual valves to operate that thing. To renovate that, to get that up and going, would be in the millions to get that heating and air conditioning updated. And in there, it's not PREA compliant. PREA compliant is the Prisoner Rape Elimination Act. There's a lot of box corners. It's boxy, you can't see, and we'd have to update that to make that functionally today. It's also not seismically sound, and that current section is not in use today. The pod section in the center of the screen was built in 1990. It is currently in use. We hold about 150. It's used as a work release section. Right now it holds about up to 156 individuals. It's more modern. It does take less supervision to operate. It does have potential use for federal inmates if we were to keep it operating. It's actually pretty good standard, but if we do move on and the bond is approved, we would eventually, we have several options which we could vacate it. It could be torn down. Ogden City has a great plan for their civic center, which to be a great partner with them, we see their vision. I'd like to see that civic center be used. It would cost quite a bit of money to have that leveled, but also we've had federal partners reach out to us. They would like to use it to house some of their inmates. Those things we just don't know what's going to happen right now. This is a view of our facility currently with a possible, the plan you see in the lighter colored on the left side of the screen. That is the medical and mental health section that's proposed. The shorter roof is 16 for female, and on the upper left is 36 beds for the male section, which would increase the facility by 48 beds. And I'll turn this to Chief Reese.
Thank you, Sheriff. Commissioners, members of the public, thank you for this opportunity. At the commission meeting when we voted to pass this resolution, Commissioner Frower asked me about the percentage of our mentally ill and individuals that have substance use. And I didn't have a precise number, and it drove me insane. So I went and found that for you.
Thank you.
Working with our mental health professionals, we have 68% of our population qualifies for substance use and or mental health disorders, with a total of 119% falling into that seriously and persistently mentally ill category. So to give you an idea of the population that our staff manage on a day in and day out, those are very significant numbers in our population. As the sheriff rolled out, the facility that was built in 1998 and opened in 2000 is simply not large enough anymore. It doesn't handle the complexity of the cases that we handle. We succeed because of our amazing staff. We have talented staff that work really, really hard day in and day out to be successful. We don't succeed because of the layout of our facility. And this proposal moves us in that direction of being able to be successful, not only with the talent of our staff, but also with the facility supporting those staff members. So on the screen, as you can see, it lays out putting an infirmary and a clinic where we currently house our administrative staff. So all of our clerical staff, our support staff are housed in that area, along with a renovated transportation area. As we've gone through the feasibility study, as the sheriff pointed out, there was some mistakes made, there was some oversights, there was some data that we just hadn't quite wrapped our heads around. So over the course of the last 3 years, we've tuned that. And the infirmary, the medical area, the transportation fits in that administrative area really, really well. And the cost of renovation is significantly less than building a facility out to the west of our facility, which is what we had originally talked about doing. The proposal for the transportation area cleans up the safety and security of our facility enormously. As you can see on the screen, on the right-hand side, that is where all of our in-custody individuals will be searched, hooked up appropriately, and taken out for the day in and day out courses that we take care of. And then on the left side of that proposal will be an intake area. It creates a really positive flow and prevents cross-contamination, as much as we strive to make sure that inappropriate things are not in our facility. It does happen, and this is another layer of safety for our facility. Being efficient, we propose creating and upgrading a video court where our current medical area lies. That is, again, is a renovation. Video court is the future of what we are going to be doing. Every time an offender can be seen by their public defender, by the judge, going to court over video means they don't have to leave our facility. So we keep our community safer in doing this renovation. This one, okay. Part of the data that we were able to find and put together, originally in the feasibility study, we had looked at adding additional housing spaces, hardened, regular, traditional housing spaces. Looking at the county's growth projections and the data that we had put together, recognizing that building the medical unit and appropriate mental health housing sections, we're able to put off building additional housing units for 6 to 9 years, which we have proposed putting on the county's strategic long-term plan so that we can plan for it and not go out to the taxpayers again. And we can be frugal and efficient in that way. And then, as the sheriff pointed out, I just want to reiterate, the sheriff has a statutory obligation, responsibility to provide medical and mental health care for the in-custody population.
Thank you, Chief Reese.
All right, on this picture that we have here, this is the location of the proposed site. It's just north of our current facility at the corner of of Depot Street and 12th, just right north of the juvenile detention facility. This is property that the county already owns. In our proposal, we are not purchasing any additional property to make this work, which is in some sense a cost savings to the county. This is a footprint of what it would be. One of the things that we looked at trying to analyze and determine how is this going to work, we looked at, earlier I talked about how can we save money and not just build anything that we wanted. One of the things that plans that we came across was, in the previous concept plans was to be 2 facilities on this site. The problem was we didn't have enough parking. And if we did 2 facilities, we would have had to gone up with parking. But parking stalls on a terrace level was $40,000 per stall, whereas if we on main level, it was only $14,000 per stall. Those costs are just too much to the county, too much to the residents. And so this is why the cost savings in our plan, you can see on the slide there, is by going to this multi-level, we are reducing the supervision of staff. We're saving an average of $150,000 per year by going to this multi-level. And again, we're saving money by reducing or by not purchasing any property. This is a picture of the multi-level building with the 4 levels. The first level here that you see is composed of the release program and the female housing on the main level with public lobbies and access to the pretrial and reentry programs and release services. The second level, or this is a diagram to show you how the supervision is needed less, where it's kind of a dorm style setting, where it's not where you see in pictures of where it's like a hard facility where there's blocked rooms. It's more of an open view. This facility will add approximately 224 beds. Overall, this is close to 300 beds that will add to the overall facility, the Weber County Justice Center. The second floor will be the male housing. Then also you see in blue is the Allied Agency. This is the part of the program that we're really excited about reentry. This is where we believe that we're going to reduce recidivism or the reoffenders. There's a lot of great agencies that work in our county, like Weber Human Services, the Center of Excellence, the Lantern House, the Reentry Coalition, Department of Workforce Services. They're spread throughout our county. They provide so many assets and programs for those that are offenders. If we can get them together, to work together and collaborate, we want the reentry to start day one when they come into our facility. A lot of these programs work together and they work with the inmates when they're released. We believe that there's going to be a higher success rate when they come the first day they come into our facility. A lot of these inmates, when they are sentenced, if they're 30 days, if they're 60 days, 126 months or a year, their programs don't start until after released. This is not a recipe for success. This needs to happen sooner. And we can work with the judges and the criminal justice system so this can start day one. We believe this is going to be successful. These groups are already there. We've contacted every one of them. They're very excited and they want to work with this. They are committed to making this a success for us. This is a picture of our partners. I believe many of them are here tonight and to speak about this bond. The third floor, as you can see, is vacant. This is for future expansion. We believe building now. This is a shell because we believe this program and this plan will expand in the future for greater success. Earlier I talked about this has been a 3.5 year plan we've been looking at. We've flown to Bergen County, New Jersey. We visited other states like Texas and some of those counties. This program of reentry is something we're not just creating just as a whim. These are successful programs that have been working successfully all over the place. This is what we want to mirror, and we have seen success. We have the data to show this, and it will work very well for our county. The fourth floor will be the Sheriff's Administration, support staff, and patrol, and this is as a result of the renovation of our office. This is where we'll be moving to. And finally, our last slide, the cost of the bond to each household. A property owner is $4.51 based on the average value of $468,000, and the business will be $8.20 per month. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
That conclude Chief Reese's presentation as well.
Yes.
So before we come back to commission, I have one question for you. There may be others. So of your 800 and some odd inmates you have currently, how many actually came from Weber County versus other counties or across the state? I know Chief Reese answered
Over 90%.
90%.
Yes.
And I appreciate Chief Reese bringing back the information on where we face with mental illness and other drug-related issues. That's a fairly significant number as well. Okay. And I think you understand why I asked for that number of the residents. So with that, I'll bring it back to commission for comments or questions. Commissioner Bolos is in your portfolio.
Yeah, I would love to add just a couple of things. One thing the sheriff mentioned about the collaboration of outside providers in the community that I think is really important to understand is he spoke about the potential of expanding the housing in the next 6 to 9 years. And part of the discussion of putting off that pod expansion, as we called it, which is additional beds, part of the delay for that is to see if we even need an expansion in 6 to 9 years, because this model has been successful in other communities, and because of that, we may not need additional housing for additional inmates as our population grows. If we can help these individuals and collaborate as a community to help them as they re-enter our communities.
Anything else?
Not now, maybe later.
You'll have opportunity. Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very thorough. I respect the fact of all the other pathways that were ventured down. Sometimes you have to go down another path to find out you need to come back and go down this path. So there were several times you'd go down a road and it only led to something that wasn't sustainable. So you came back and you went down again. And I respect all those different things. You've been very, very thorough. You with your staff. It's been interesting to watch how things have moved around. It's I think there was I want to throw this in, but I'm glad we still have property out there that's when you talk about a justice center in that whole corrections area. So everything is all in the same campus, so to speak, out there at Depot Drive and 12th Street. It'd be a good service for people that are in that area. That's kind of where they can go and get all those services collectively if this were to go. I also would be remiss, Mr. Chair, and I'm sure you were going to take care of this, but I also wanted to recognize we've got Chief Young here with Ogden City, and then we've got Mayor Porter here from South Ogden City, and then we've also got several others.
We've got a lot of dignitaries here.
Dignitary Kevin.
Let us know who else is here.
Well, I could probably go through the whole, if you'd like me to. Well, let me just Kevin Eastman from our Weber Human Services is here, and we could go on and on. We appreciate the support from our community. Oh, and the best reporter that I've seen in the history of the Standard Examiner is also here, Tim Vandenack. I blow a little wind up his skirt, but he really is. He's the fairest guy that I've been working with the Standard now for almost 40 years, and he's the fairest guy there is that I've seen. So glad you're here to show interest, Tim, and away from your family. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Before I give a couple of remarks, I'm going to ask Scott Park or John Bond to come forward because I want to make sure that we're clear on the financing, that this is a GO bond, a general obligation bond. The public may not be fully aware of financing alternatives that the state of Utah gives us. So both of you come up. So I want to make sure that people understand the numbers that that Sheriff Arbon brought up, which was the 451, I believe it was, thereabouts.
Yes.
850 for business. So that would be put on the property tax notice.
Correct.
Is that correct? Now, explain the general obligation bond and why, and really the ramifications is that, i.e., the public has the right to vote on it, interest rates versus, say, a revenue bond or other type of financing mechanisms that the county would have at their option. And maybe give a little insight of why we went with the general obligation bond versus other types of financing.
Sure. Let me go first,
Go
see how it goes. Whenever you borrow money, there's risk. And that risk is required, we call it interest rate, because when lenders want to lend cities, counties, the state of Utah any money, they want interest back. What we've done over the last several years is put the county into a very strong financial position so that if and when we have to borrow money, we can go out to the market, the bond market, and borrow at the lowest interest rate possible, which means that people that are lending that money don't see us as a high risk. Thus they're willing to lend us at a lower interest rate. What we've done over the last several years is we initially in 2013 we were going through a library bond. It was a significant bonding at that time. Fitch Rating Agency provided us a AAA bond rating, which puts us kind of as if you had your own personal credit score. It put it about 850, which is about as high as you can get. It is as high as you can get. We were one of 72 counties at the time out of 3,000 in the nation that had received that bond rating from Fitch. And what bondholders do is they look at that rating and say, what is the risk? Well, we are very low risk, and so they are willing to lend us at a very low interest rate, or the lowest interest rate available in the market. So it's a key part of when we go out and borrow money is that we put ourselves in a strong position to borrow and cause the least amount of interest to be there. When we do a general obligation bond, we have probably 2 or 3 tools that we use to go out and borrow money at. General obligation is one. The sales tax is another. Municipal building authority, which is what we did across the street with the...
Sorry, John, can you speak into the microphone?
Of course. Sorry. Better?
That's better. Thank
Good. Across the street, we did municipal building authority bond. Some of the other areas that we've borrowed money in was sales tax bond. The commissioners hold the key to making those decisions and deciding whether to activate that bond or not. A third type is a general obligation bond, and there the commissioners put in front of the voters that decision. Well, when lenders see that, bond market lenders see that you have gone out to the citizens with a vote and said, do you approve this, and put that heavy weight of tax on your shoulders and commit to that, then that shows the bond rating agencies as well as those that would lend money that the county is behind it, that the citizens are behind it, and they will lend at a lower interest rate also. So what we do as we finance things is we try and find what we try and do then is find the best avenue to get the lowest interest amount that the citizens would have to pay. What do we do with them? We get a AAA bond rating, we keep it. We've been able to do that. We put it out to a general obligation vote and see if the citizens want to take that responsibility on their shoulders. Those two things lower the interest rate and give us the best interest rate available, and thus less interest is being paid.
Good. That's kind of the answer I wanted to make sure the public was aware for, is this because of our great financial strength here in the county, our AAA bond rating, and the public having the opportunity to vote on this, will make sure that whatever interest rate ends up, we don't know where that interest rate would be until the bonds are sold, would be at the lowest possible rate.
Correct.
That's a fair statement.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Scott, do you have anything to add?
I was just going to say, you know, the commissioners could have gone out on their own and issued that municipal building authority
Right.
or a sales tax bond and just raised taxes to do that. Yes, it would have resulted in a little bit higher interest rate, but it may have been a little bit easier because you didn't have to, you know, get the citizens to vote for it. So by putting it out to a vote, you're allowing the community to say whether or not they buy into this and they want to support this. And if they do, John is right that the bond markets see that, and then they have a guaranteed repayment with the property tax, and so they'll give us a much lower rate.
Yeah, okay. I think that's important information to pass out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. All right, before we go to public comments, directed toward Sheriff Arbonne, I just wanted to give my appreciation for the work he's done over the last 3.5, 4 years on this. I want to make sure the public understands this has not been something that's been thrown together over the last 30, 60 days. It's been a 3.5, 4-year process. 4 years ago, we made some investment on our medical platform at the sheriff's office when I was involved with that portfolio. As we saw a number of lawsuits being filed across the country, and I mean across the country, because of medical care that was not being given. We've seen recently a number of lawsuits also resurfacing across this country dealing with the mental health and the drug addiction process. And I think it's then becomes relevant as very much that your presentation said, if we're going to treat these people rather than just lock them up, we need to have a facility that can handle that can be treatment rather than just lock up. We know that 90%, based upon what you told us tonight, are Weber County people. We get accused of, you're just doing this for these people that come in from out of state or out of county. These aren't our people. Well, they are, 90%. 70%, as talked about with Chief Reese, have those drug addiction and or opioid or some type of substance abuse. It's clear. I think we see that every day. And if we're going to take this in what I call a professional manner, we need to start treating this rather than just have a revolving door, or we're going to continue to get what we get. And I don't think that's good policy. So I appreciate your effort, Sheriff, and we look forward to whatever the public may decide in the future. But I'd hope the public would take some time and evaluate the numbers, evaluate really what we're asking for, which is a different model than what we did 20 or 30 years ago. But we're in a different society than we were 20 or 30 years ago. I'm the only one that sits up here that probably remembers 20 or 30 years, but you know, I can say that quite honestly. But anyway, regardless, that's where we are, and we applaud your chiefs, your efforts. You've gone to a substantial amount of work to educate the public, and really that's what it is. What I see this, it's an education process. Let the public have the information, let them have the facts, let them know what they're going to be paying on a monthly, yearly basis, and then let them make the decision. So that's where we're at. With that, any additional comments before we go to public? All right, we'll save that for later. So let's go to public comments. Now's that time. Just by a show of hands, I'm going to do this the legislative way. How many people in the audience are here to speak for the bond? Please raise your hand. I kind of figured that. How many are here to speak against the bond? Did I miss anybody's hand?
Wow, that in and amongst itself says something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that makes my job a lot easier. Typically what we do is have one pro, one against. We don't want to pick favorites, but in this point, what we're going to do is you can please come forward. And I know, Mayor, you've got to leave for additional meeting. And please limit your time to 3 minutes. I know politicians sometimes have a hard time doing that.
Not that.
Not that one.
You've been in my meetings. I can talk fast when I need to. Russ Porter, South Ogden City, also the mayor of South Ogden City. I do have a letter that I'll give to the sheriff this week with 13 mayors that have signed a letter of support for this bond. The other two I'm missing, I just haven't found them yet, so we canceled that meeting. I just reiterate with what everybody said. They've done their homework. They've not rushed to this. The parts about mental health are everything. What's really the selling point for me, a couple of those. One is the resources available as they leave the jail. I hear from my South Ogden police officers about just arresting the same people over and over again. And they take them down, they get out, and they go back. And we can't stop all that, but we can sure stop a lot. And so all for this expansion, the thought that's gone into it, the flow, the increased resources for those as they leave incarceration. And 451, I'm looking forward to, that's going to cost me 2 donuts a month, and so I believe that it'll benefit me as well. That'll be good for me, if you can tell. So, nice things cost money. Great services, important things are expensive. And yes, this costs a lot of money, but what it means for our county, it'll be repaid many, many times over. So definitely in favor of it. And I speak for most of the mayors that are also, that I've talked to that are in favor of it and have signed. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, come on up, Chief. Looks like you're next. Appreciate you being here with us.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate you having me. As Chief of Police in Ogden, Weber County resident, nearly lifetime now, I do want to also just say on behalf of the police chiefs, we are in support of this bond. And we did poll police chiefs and police leaders in Weber County, and we did sign a letter for the sheriff's office in support of the expansion of the jail facilities. I've been here 30 years now as a police officer, so I booked people in 3 different places in Weber County jails over the years. What I like about this project and what I like about our partnership with the sheriff's office, this is a very progressive sheriff's office and a very progressive sheriff. He's looking to solve problems, not just put a Band-Aid on them, and he's looking for technology, and he's looking to the latest and greatest interventions and innovations to make us a better community. And the reentry team has developed already a great relationship with our homeless service advocates and the ability to get people not just back out on the street, back somewhere they can be supported. And just one other thing I'd like to say, it's important to understand, people say, well, a lot of folks are out there needing drug treatment, they're needing mental health and medical care. Some people just can't be treated in normal facilities. They have to be in the jail. And our medical providers are coming to us saying, stop bringing us people who are so violent, so dangerous, and so out of control, they need to be they need to be locked up, and you're bringing them to our emergency room, and you're putting us at risk day after day after day, and they're scared to death. So this really is critical for the safety of a lot of people in our community, and again, I applaud the sheriff, I applaud Chief Reese, they've done a great job on this, so thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Chief. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. Appreciate you allowing me to take a minute of your time. My name is Andrew McCann. I'm the Adult Probation and Parole Chief for the Northern Region. Weber County is part of my service area. I appreciate what Chief Young just said about treating people. I echo that. We struggle with finding good places to treat people, and I'm grateful for Sheriff's insight and forethought on this. I'm here to to voice my support for the Weber Justice Center bond. The bond will enable the Sheriff's Department to better serve our community by creating more opportunities for this community's justice-involved persons. The proposal creates a dedicated space for those with mental health issues, a population that is oftentimes underserved and marginalized. The bond also creates a better place to manage the medical issues within the jail. This proposal creates some wonderful space for reentry, something that adult probation and parole is keenly interested in, as we serve nearly 4,000 probationers and parolees in my region alone. By enhancing release efforts, release preparation, and work release opportunities, we better prepare our justice-involved population for reentry into the community and increase the likelihood of their success exponentially. As lives are improved through these reentry efforts, community safety is definitely enhanced. I'm grateful for Sheriff Arbin and his team's forward thinking to create opportunities for the people of Weber County, and I support the Weber County Justice Center bond. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us tonight.
Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity. I just want to take this to a personal place. The first thing is my daughter works in a BHU, and I will tell you that she is attacked a lot by people that should be in a jail facility rather than in a hospital facility. And secondly, I would dare to bet that the majority of our citizens know someone or have a family member who are mentally ill or addicted to drugs. Sorry. When you lose someone to drugs, it impacts you forever. My grandson lost his dad 7 years ago, and we're still dealing with the impact today. So I support this full-heartedly, and I thank the sheriff.
Thanks, Shelley. Please come up. Welcome.
Hello.
Mr.
Kerry
Wayne.
Wayne, Mary Slaterville, good to see you all again. On a positive note, I really like that. Okay. I have so much respect for Sheriff Arbonne. He's the only public servant I know of that's trying to put himself out of business. He's wonderful. And I think that the efforts he's making to change law enforcement, change incarceration. A small note, 2 weeks ago, I have this guilty pleasure. 10 years ago, the Standard-Examiner used to publish the mug shots, and I was obsessed with watching them and stuff. And so I got to see the people who were coming in and out of the jail every 7 to 10 days. And 2 weeks ago, I was up at Grounds for Coffee. I'd been in a meeting. And I'll be darned if I didn't see the gentleman who came every 7 to 10 days to the jail. And he's still walking the streets. And he was always in for public intoxication. I gave him probably twice what I'm going to give for this bond to get him a cup of coffee. But, I mean, again, when we talk about addiction, I had 2 daughters who were involved in addiction. One didn't turn out so well. I lost her. The other daughter went to jail, received no services because it was federal, because they had a law that says you can't give them any education, you can't give them anything. And so she got out, went to school. She's now a clinical director for a rehabilitation center for Native Americans. It can change if the right people get involved. And I think that if we can take, and again, I believe him when he says that these programs are proven programs. Because again, I've kind of bug dogged in the city about, hey, let's do something, let's get a command center for the homeless. I said, you got empty buildings, let's put them in there, get all these people working together so they don't have to go from one end of town to the other. Again, if they can be treated at the jail before they're released, find them support in the community, I think we can save a lot of those people. And these people are important to you because they're Weber County, 90% of them are Weber County residents. And I live in that area, and I know there was people who were always panicked down in Salt Lake about the Decker Park facility. And I think, like I said, there's been no change for me that the jail's been there. I think that's, like I said, it speaks to the quality of care that the inmates get. Not all of them want to leave, you know, but again, I strongly support this bond, and I hope that, again, the community will get behind it and give the sheriff the tools he needs. So thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us, Kerry. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name's Teresa Bramwell, and I was born and raised in Ogden. I still own a few properties in Weber County. And I can tell you right now that I am, in fact, Weber County's largest crime victim. I own a property on 25th and Monroe, between the apartments that are on the north side of the street and the Family Dollar that's in the middle of the block across from James Madison Elementary. And I am a crime victim every single day, and I have been for years. My house has been burned twice. Topper Bakery burned down next door to me. I have dealt with probably 1,000 homeless people that are addicted to drugs, on drugs, shooting up drugs, passed out, everything you can possibly imagine. I've dealt with every single bit of it. I'm tired of dealing with it. If this bond will help me from continuing to be the largest crime victim in Weber County, I will appreciate that very much. But I do know that the problems are absolutely drugs, absolutely mental illness, and absolutely homelessness. And those people are being left out on the street. I've seen the same people over and over and over and over again. They keep stealing my stuff to go and buy drugs. I'm tired of it. I hope this fixes it, and I support this, and I hope this fixes the problem. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Next.
Good evening, Mr.
Welcome.
Chair and members of the commission. My name is Robert Hunter, and as you know, I represent a lot of nonprofits here in this community, but tonight I'm here simply as a volunteer. For over 10 years, my wife and I served as addiction recovery volunteers in this community, and many of those assignments took us to the Weber County Jail, both on the women's side and the men's side. And we were able to witness firsthand the mess that those people came from and the mess that they would be forced to go back to without some reentry help. And as I envision those nonprofits, many of them who can be helpful to those people and prepare them for reentry, being located at the site, and knowing that the sheriff will have beds for medical help and for mental health help and also for addiction recovery intensiveness, I just think it's an amazing thing that can help people get back on their feet and become productive members of society. So I'm very proud to be part of the committee that is trying to help educate the public to support this bond. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Welcome.
Thank you. Kevin Eastman, I'm the Executive Director of Weber Human Services. We're, I believe, the largest substance abuse and mental health treatment agency in Weber County. We treat about 7,000 to 8,000 people each year. And what we have seen over the course of many years, I've been at Weber Human Services for over 30 years now, and 15 plus as the Executive Director. What we see over all these years is that as we continue to add transitions into treatment of mental health and substance addicted individuals, that treatment gets better and better. We recently acquired some apartments. When we step a person that has a substance addiction from a group home setting through treatment into an apartment program that's subsidized by our services and by our treatment, and then finally back in reintegrated into the community, we have a much higher success rate. The piece that we've never been able to fully do, and we have about a 70% no-show rate with each individual as they make appointments. It's very hard to engage a seriously mentally ill individual and a substance addicted individual. It's hard to engage them in treatment. But when we do, we have a higher success rate. We see over 60% of those people get better. So the thing that we've not been able to do really well, we send a person out to the jail every day, and by luck of the draw, we happen to catch maybe a few of those as they're being discharged out of the jail. The sheriff usually doesn't know when they're going to come and go. We don't know. So if we could start to work with them when they're in that setting, get that treatment set up before they actually leave, we have to hope that we're going to have a greater impact on those individuals. 70% no-show. I have to hope that we would get a greater amount of people linked into treatment. And we're just one provider in this county. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hello, my name is Troy.
Good evening.
I'm a citizen of North Ogden. My brother stole an ambulance in North Ogden, or I guess in Ogden, a couple years back. It was all over the news. But he did that because he was on drugs, and he's been in and out of jail, I don't even know how many times. Just got out of prison for the second time. And that's only a matter of time before he goes back. He needs help, and him sitting in jail doesn't help him. So I support this big time, and hopefully, you know, he's not a danger to society anymore. You know, he thinks he can go on anybody's property and take it. He doesn't understand that it's private property, and he's fully capable of understanding, but he won't get off the drugs. So I think this is a very important thing that we approve. Thanks.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Anyone else? Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Laura Warburton, and I am from Ogden Valley, and I am the head of and founder of Live Hannah's Hope. I am so over the top thrilled with this bond. For the price of a bagel and some hot chocolate, every month, once a month. I think I can give that up for this amazing program, and I'll tell you why. For 9 years now, for 10 years since my daughter died, I have looked for places that I could go ahead and do this kind of emotional resilience training. I've watched different organizations try to come in and make that happen. It's really difficult to find space, difficult for me as a nonprofit director to justify spending money on anything but literal programs. And so now I can have a place to go teach really very good, effective programs to people to keep them off the streets. I've worked in child homelessness. I've worked at the state with, I want to say, Representative Frower, but now Commissioner Frower. We've done a lot of work for homeless youth, for homelessness, and I just think this is the most amazing program. So I am very grateful for all of your support, and I'm very grateful to Sheriff Arbonne and his whole crew. I am not an accountant. I am not qualified. I can look at things and I can say, okay, this makes sense to me. This is smart taxes. You know, we're allowed to spend money. We're supposed to tax. This is a group. This is what we do. This is a social agreement. But what I do know is people. And we have an incredible team sitting behind us here. Incredible team of people who want to help, and that's all they want to do. I don't find ego involved. I just see people wanting to help people that are educated around it, finding results, finding solutions, putting it down. So for all of you that are listening, please support this. Please support this. It's so little for such a powerful program. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate that.
Good evening,
Hi there.
Commissioners. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
It's nice to be here. Angel Castillo, Ogden resident, and this is so important to me. I am missing a city council meeting that's happening right now. I just took the earbuds out. I've been listening. And I haven't missed a city council meeting since 2018, so that should tell you how important this is to me. And I'd like everybody in the public to consider and ask themselves the questions, because I know we all have this experience. Do you remember the kids that constantly got into trouble at school, right? The whole thing about your mom, sorry, I'm just going to shut that meeting off. Your mom forbids you to hang out with those kids, particularly because they were bad kids, they get into trouble, and when you hang out with kids that get into trouble, you have a tendency to be either raised or lowered according to your companions. And Mom knew that, but there's actual scientific proof for this, specifically when it comes to incarceration and people being held with a population that is a higher level offense than their own. Someone who gets busted for addiction or drugs is hanging out with murderers, rapists, and gang members. They go up as far as their crimes that they're going to commit. And while I admire Sheriff Arbonne deeply, and he has been petitioning for this really good program to help end recidivism, I'm going to talk about the value proposition, about how much money this saves us. We cannot separate populations now. We cannot separate people having mental health episodes. We cannot separate low-level drug offenders from people who have committed murder and rape. And according to Dave DeRocher, who runs the Other Side Academy, he's got a whole lot of personal experience telling you that when you put low-level criminals in the same area with high-level criminals, we're training them to commit bigger crimes. And I think it's important for the public to understand the difference between jail versus prison. The jail is where we're holding people who have been accused of crimes, who have been accused of murders. Prison is where they go when they're convicted. So at any time, we have people that may or may not have committed a murder being housed with people without the ability to separate lower level crimes. In Weber County, there are 8 to 10 murders per year. And according to the 1996 Miller, Cohen, and Wiersema study, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, there's a cost to crime. And this particular study takes into account it doesn't take into account pain and suffering, but it talks about the actual cost of courts, of jail, of police, of attorneys, the whole thing. And in 1996, it was $1 million. And in 2023, using those study guidelines, one murder is $21.6 million of a cost to a community. One robbery is $58,000. Now, I went and I looked for other more conservative formulas, and the lowest you can get that number is $12 million. Weber County has 8 to 10 murders per year. And so I'm encouraging the public to ask themselves how many crimes have to be committed in your community or directly to your families to be okay with paying an additional $50 per year in taxes. Is it one murder? Is it two? Is it the 8 to 10 that happen in Weber County? It's the right thing to do, and look at it from the value proposition side, how much money it is going to save us in operational costs. And of course, I obviously support what Sheriff Arbonne is doing. I've been on the Reentry Coalition for the last 2.5 years, and Weber County Sheriff's Office is doing groundbreaking work in this area, following other models. And I highly encourage everybody to look into it and to make sure you ask yourself the question, are you willing to pay $50 a year? Or do you want to pay more? How many murders or crimes have to happen in your community that we don't have any place to put them, that you'll pay $50? Thank you.
Thank you, Angel, for being here. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jill Coford. I'm an Ogden City resident. I'm going to take a little different tack. First, I want to start by saying I very much support Sheriff Arbonne and this bond. And that's not an easy thing for me to say, for the simple fact that property taxes are on an unsustainable trajectory in this state. And we have 78 different taxing entities across the state this year that will take a tax increase. Now that's down from last year, was 90 last year, but typically on average it's about 60. So for $4.51 a month, my ask of the commission is, can we cut that in other places so that maybe it's a net $2 or a net zero to our taxpayers? And I know that's a heavy ask with the way the economy is, with the increases in salaries, in benefits, and all of that kind of thing. But I would hope that as a commission that we could just look at that and see if we can help reduce that burden on our taxpayers at some level. I've been impressed at watching the sheriff go through this process. I met with him over a year ago, and it was a much larger ask for his bond. So I know he's done the work. And I also know that this is the proper use of government. Public safety should be one of our #1 things that we're funding. So if there are other ways that we can cut in the county, I would hope that maybe you would look at that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here. You may want to attend our public hearing when we talk about the budget, Jill.
Oh, I will for sure.
All right, anyone else? Now's your opportunity.
Commissioner, I actually have something. Oh, go ahead.
We got one other person. Go ahead.
Sorry, Louis Decker. Most of you know me. I'm in a citizen capacity tonight, but I just want to speak about something that the Sheriff and Chief Reese pointed on. In their presentation, they pointed on maintenance. I just hope the public realizes that the jail itself has a lot of maintenance that goes to it. I can speak firsthand. I'm one of the 4 assigned to the jail and the Kiesel facility. There's oftentimes an inside joke with these two sitting behind me about Home Depot. As one of the maintenance personnel, the Kiesel facility is a great building, but Chief Reese knows my gripe of it's old, it's outdated, it's tired, it's ready to be put to bed. I would hope the public would support Sheriff Arbonne. I've seen his vision. I'm one that supports it. I would hope other employees that are there would support it as well. It's going to make it easier on everybody. There's some new technologies and some new mechanical systems that are out there that, you know, the administrative team has seen. They know where maintenance wants to go with stuff too to make it easier on everybody. So thank you, and hope everybody supports it.
Thank you for being here. Anyone else in the chamber that would like to speak? Chris?
If you don't mind, I would actually like to make some comments in my individual capacity. I can go up to the podium if you want. Or
No,
if you,
you're good.
okay. And mine is more Christopher Crockett, Manaway, Utah, is to just state some factual information that I have learned in researching this issue, and I'll make it real quick. The sheriff does indeed have a statutory obligation to provide adequate to provide for the needs of those that are charged to be within his custody, but it is also a constitutional requirement that is protected by the United States Constitution and also the Constitution of the state of Utah. Another fact that I have learned is that the majority of people who are incarcerated in the Weber County Jail will reenter society within a year of being incarcerated. Another fact that I have learned is that nearly half of all inmates have an underlying mental health condition, disproportionately higher than when compared to the general population. Another fact is research has shown that inadequate access to community resources is linked to reoffense and committing crime again once released. Another fact is that correctional facilities across the country, both state and federal, are adopting this model of putting their focus towards mental health issues and providing mental health treatment, and also preparing plans for reentry for individuals who are incarcerated. Research also shows that putting resources towards these things will increase capacity because you're reducing recidivism, the likelihood that someone will reoffend. And also another fact that I'd end with is today is World Mental Health Day. And I just find that to be interesting. It goes along with the very topic that we are discussing. So those are my comments.
Thank you for those comments. Appreciate that. Anyone else in the chamber? Now's your last opportunity. Shelley, anyone online? Okay. Looks like we're back to the commission. Commissioners, come back to you for final remarks. Commissioner Bolos?
The sheriff and others have touched on some of these things, but I'll just talk about the things that are important to me. And I just joined this process 9 months ago, and I've learned a lot about what it means for individuals to leave into a community where they don't have the tools that they need to succeed. And that's through my association with the sheriff and his office, and also other parts of my portfolio. I've learned how important that is, and how impactful it is to be released into society without the tools you need. And I think that's why we see these individuals reoffend. And Angel talked about those you associate with, and that's not only in jail but out of jail. And if individuals leave jail and are unable to get the help that they need, they'll likely go right back to the people they know and the people they're comfortable with. And I think that's a big part of this as well. I appreciate all the personal stories that have been shared. I think that's what this is really about. It's about people and how we help them and how we help make them part of our community.
Commissioner Harvey.
I was impacted a couple of the comments, especially where those who came decided that they would be vulnerable and share things that were very near or hard for them, and they're motivated because they love or because of a memory. One gentleman who came especially, he said his brother took an ambulance, and he still loves his brother. Then there are others that have lost loved ones. I love this job. Some of these people I've seen come to the podium for years. I love learning more about them, but sometimes it takes years and years and years before they get to situations like this where you know where you learn why they are the way they are. I think the investment, and while I haven't done any fact-finding, with Angel, what you said with regards to the cost, my wife was a trial member for one who was certainly had committed a crime, and it doesn't even, I mean, a murder. And yet the appeal process has continued to cost each one of us in this room who are Weber County residents property tax, because he's, in my, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to be chastised by counsel after, but he's abusing, as far as I'm concerned, he's abusing his right to appeal, although he has the legal right to do it, but it's on and on and on. It just costs all of us more and more money, so if we can get folks help, I appreciate what's been said tonight. We hear, at least I hear you. Thank you.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, again, let me just thank all those that have taken time out of their great Tuesday night to come and be with us. Great comments by everyone that was here. I think we presented the financial side of this in a proper manner so people will have the opportunity to review and make their best educated judgment when it comes time to vote. I wish I could sit up here and say that passing this jail bond will cure all our problems out there. It will solve our treatment programs, will solve the mental health issues, solve all the issues that put people in jail. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But I can say this, a wise man once told me, and I forget who it was, that if we continue to operate the same way as we have in the past and expect different results, that's a definition of stupidity. So I think it's very clear that we can't continue for a number of reasons. We talked about the monetary, we talked about the human losses, we talked about housing, we talked about a lot of issues that didn't exist 20, 30, 40 years ago that are now on our plate and that we have to address. And if we expect change and we expect to do something different, then we must be proactive in our approach to solving those issues. So I would hope that the public takes this serious. If there's any people out there that feel there's better ways to solve this, we're open. You know, we're always open for discussion. This is a 3.5-year process. Again, this hasn't taken place overnight. The reentry programs, the nonprofits that we have that have come to the table that are ready to solve this as a community are just an expansion of what we see here every day in Weber County with our community reaching out to help. So I would say we're at the right time, at the right place, if we expect and we want change. And I would say this, if the members of the community look inward, I think that they really want and expect change. Now, and I'd also agree what Ms. Colford said, property taxes are a hated tax. I hate them myself, but they become a necessary evil if they're going to be changes and if they're spent wisely. I think I can say this for the Weber County financial position. You come to our budget sessions, you'll see what we've saved this year. You'll see, that doesn't mean that will not see some type of increases across the board, but we've saved a lot of money with the outlook of what we're going to do for Weber County. But with that, I'd entertain a motion, Commissioners.
Motion to adjourn.
And reconvene as a public meeting?
Well, I'd motion that we adjourn the public hearing and reconvene a public meeting.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
All right, we're back in a public meeting. Any commissioner comments?
Done.
No, I already did.
Okay, good. That's what I was hoping you'd say. So I'd entertain a final motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're now adjourned. Thank you very much.